Imagine trying to protect a country the size of the United States. You would need soldiers. You would need aircraft. You would need ships. You would need thousands of vehicles, massive supply networks, advanced technology, and people trained to operate all of it. That already sounds enormous. But America's military was built to do something even harder. It was built to reach far beyond America, across oceans, across continents, across the sky, and sometimes into places where the United States has no border at all. That is why America's military is bigger than many people realize. But the truth is much stranger. The real scale is not just measured by how many troops, ships, or aircraft the United States has. It is measured by how many different systems can work together at the same time. And that changes the comparison completely, because America's military is not one giant machine. It is a network of people, bases, ships, aircraft, satellites, factories, supply routes, allies, and technology. And when those pieces connect, the result is something much larger than the numbers suggest. Start with the map. The United States is protected by two enormous oceans. The Atlantic lies to the east. The Pacific lies to the west. Those oceans have historically provided a powerful geographic advantage, but they also create a major challenge. If American forces need to respond far from home, they may have to cross thousands of miles of open water. Moving one person is easy. Moving an entire military force is something else. A modern military needs fuel, food, spare parts, medical support, communication, maintenance, and a constant flow of supplies. A fighter jet is impressive, but a fighter jet sitting on the ground without fuel, trained crews, maintenance, or replacement parts is not much use. That is why military power is not only about weapons. It is also about keeping those weapons ready. The United States has spent decades building the ability to move people and equipment over enormous distances. That ability is called global mobility. Global mobility means transporting military forces and supplies quickly between distant regions. It includes large transport aircraft, cargo ships, refueling systems, overseas infrastructure, and logistics networks. Logistics may not sound exciting, but logistics is one of the reasons large military forces can operate far from home. Think about a professional sports team. The players are the most visible part, but behind them are coaches, doctors, equipment staff, travel planners, analysts, and support workers. Remove that entire system, and even the best players struggle to perform. A military works in a similar way. The aircraft may be visible, the ships may appear in headlines, but much of the real power exists behind the scenes, and America's support system is enormous. The Defense Logistics Agency, one of the organizations responsible for supporting military readiness, describes resilient and responsive logistics as a major priority. Its work includes supporting the military with supplies and coordinating with other parts of the defense system. Now picture a military aircraft flying across the ocean. It cannot always reach its destination on a single tank of fuel. So how does it continue? One answer is aerial refueling. An aerial refueling aircraft carries fuel and transfers it to another aircraft while both are flying. This allows some military aircraft to travel much farther without landing. That means distance becomes less of a barrier. But distance never disappears. Every long mission still depends on planning, maintenance, trained crews, and support. This is where the scale becomes difficult to imagine. America does not simply own military aircraft. It operates systems designed to move, support, refuel, repair, and coordinate aircraft across huge distances. The same idea applies to the sea. A warship is not just a ship. It is part of a larger naval system. Some ships carry aircraft. Some provide protection. Some support operations. Some carry supplies. Some gather information. And many operate together as connected groups. The United States also maintains military forces and infrastructure in different parts of the world. That overseas presence has changed over time and is shaped by strategy, agreements, regional conditions, and cooperation with allies. The Department of Defense has described global posture as a combination of military presence, resources, readiness, strategic priorities, and coordination with allies and partners. But here is an important detail. An overseas military presence does not mean the United States controls every location. Many American forces operate through agreements with other countries. Those relationships matter. Military power is not always built alone. Allies can provide access, cooperation, infrastructure, intelligence, training, and regional knowledge. The United States has spent decades developing security partnerships. NATO is one of the most important examples. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was created in 1949 as a collective security alliance involving the United States, Canada, and European nations. It became a major part of the security structure built after World War II. That means American power is not only measured by what exists inside the United States, it is also influenced by relationships, and those relationships can expand what American forces are able to do. Now imagine two countries. Country A owns thousands of military vehicles. Country B owns fewer vehicles. At first, Country A appears stronger. But what if many of its vehicles are stored? What if some are unavailable? What if replacement parts are difficult to obtain? What if there are not enough trained crews? Suddenly, the comparison changes. Quantity is important, but quantity is not the same as capability. A military must be able to maintain its equipment. It must train its people. It must communicate. It must move. And it must keep operating when conditions become difficult. This is why comparing military strength is more complicated than counting weapons. A country may have a large inventory, but limited ability to operate far from its borders. Another country may have fewer systems, but stronger logistics, training, intelligence, or alliances. Military power depends on context, and America's advantage is often found in how different capabilities connect. Consider a military aircraft. It needs a pilot. It needs maintenance crews. It needs fuel. It needs air traffic coordination. It needs intelligence. It needs communication systems. It needs replacement parts. It may also need support from bases, ships, satellites, or other aircraft. The aircraft is only the visible tip of a much larger structure. Now multiply that system, not by 2, not by 10, but across entire military branches. The United States has the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Space Force, and other organizations that support national defense. Each has different responsibilities, but many operations depend on cooperation between them. This is called joint operations. Joint operations occur when different military branches work together toward the same objective. An operation may involve aircraft from one branch, ships from another, ground forces from another, and satellite systems supporting all of them. That level of coordination is difficult to build. It requires common planning, shared communication, training, leadership, and years of experience. This is one reason the American military is so difficult to understand by looking at a single number. You can count aircraft, but how do you count a global support network? You can count ships, but how do you measure the ability to repair and supply them far from home? You can count soldiers, but how do you measure training, intelligence, transportation, and coordination? The numbers tell part of the story. The connections tell the rest. And now the comparison becomes even bigger. The United States does not only maintain military forces, it also has a huge defense industrial base. That means a large network of companies, factories, engineers, researchers, technicians, and workers involved in developing and producing defense technology. Military equipment is not created by the armed forces alone. It depends on industry. A modern aircraft may require parts produced by many different companies. A naval vessel may take years to design and build. Advanced systems require research, testing, software, specialized materials, and skilled workers. This industrial capacity is another part of military power, because equipment eventually wears out. Technology changes, supplies must be replaced, and new systems must be developed. The ability to build and maintain advanced equipment matters over the long term. But even this does not guarantee success. A large defense budget does not automatically create an effective military. Money must be converted into training, readiness, maintenance, technology, and capability, and every military faces limits. Equipment can be expensive. Supply chains can be vulnerable. Recruitment can be difficult. Maintenance takes time. Long-distance operations are complicated. America's military power is enormous. But enormous systems also require enormous effort to maintain. That is the part people often forget. The larger the network becomes, the more people are needed to keep it running. Behind every aircraft in the sky are people working on the ground. Behind every ship at sea are crews, engineers, planners, suppliers, and support teams. Behind every military operation are thousands of decisions that the public may never see. The visible equipment receives attention. The invisible system makes the equipment possible. And that may be the biggest discovery of all. America's military is not powerful because it has one unbeatable weapon. It is powerful because it combines many different capabilities. It connects land forces, naval forces, air power, space systems, technology, industry, logistics, and international partnerships. That combination creates scale, but it also creates flexibility. The United States can adapt different capabilities to different situations. A humanitarian mission is not the same as a military deployment. A disaster response is not the same as a long-term security mission. Different situations require different tools. American military transportation and logistics systems also support missions beyond combat, including humanitarian assistance and disaster response. That does not mean the system is perfect. No military is. The United States faces changing technology, new strategic challenges, rising costs, and the difficulty of maintaining readiness across a global network. But the scale remains extraordinary. And perhaps the most impressive part is not what you can see, it is what you cannot. The aircraft on the runway, the ships crossing the ocean, the vehicles moving across a training field, those are the symbols. But behind every symbol is a much larger system, a system built over generations, a system supported by millions of decisions, a system that connects people, technology, industry, infrastructure, and allies. That is why America's military is bigger than many people think, not simply because it has more, but because so many different pieces can work together. The real American advantage may not be one aircraft, one ship, one base, or one weapon. It may be the ability to connect all of them, and when you look at the entire network, the scale becomes almost impossible to picture. The United States is protected by vast oceans. But its military reach does not stop at the shoreline. It crosses the oceans. It connects continents. And it depends on an enormous system that most people never see. That is the real size of America's military. Not just the power you can count, but the power that makes everything else possible. If you enjoyed discovering the hidden scale behind America's military power, subscribe for more military comparisons, history, technology, and surprising facts. And if this video changed the way you see the United States military, leave a like and tell us which American military advantage we should explore next.